Hello, hello, welcome everybody. I'm Jev. Yes, Triple V. The accent, by the way, is purely Kiwi. I read old stories for children, so we keep this a family-friendly channel by having bad word blockers, banning bots, and preventing spam. So that means new followers need to wait a few minutes before they can join in the chat. Since these stories are so old, they're now in the public domain, which means they are free to read for anyone and by anyone, the way many Christmas songs are. The digital versions I read are from Project Gutenberg, and you'll find the link for that below. The physical ones are just old books my family has lying around. Sometimes I'll even show them to you. These, by the way, are live reads. Think of them as bedtime stories rather than actual audiobooks. You get the benefits of my mistakes, distractions, explanations, and terrible attempts at accents, along with plenty of chat and interruptions as we find out about things in the story. If you need to do work or chores, then that's fine. Just come and lurk. Please adjust your volume to suit. There are captions available if you have to be quiet or you have hearing challenges, but be warned, sometimes the captions aren't always that accurate. I am a member of the Codex, an awesome group of reading streamers on Twitch. People from many walks of life who share their love of reading, and you'll find links to the Codex reading team and our Discord server below. A special feature of the Codex Discord is the security channel for those of you who stream or moderate. You'll find lots of practical, useful information to help keep your stream and your community safe. So, hang around and come discover adventure with me. You never know what we'll find. Hello, hello, everybody. How are you? I hope you're doing well. We have horrible weather here again. It's summertime. Apparently, we're now doing the tropical regional thing where it rains really heavily in summer. Actually, no, I don't think it is. I think it's just we're stuck between the tropics and Antarctica, and we're next door to Australia, which has a huge landmass, and so we get all these influences on our weather. So currently, we've got this going on. Anyway, yeah, hubby lit the fire today to dry the room out a little bit just because of humidity and all that sort of stuff. Went away to go and do something else, and PJ and I had to, once it got warm enough, just sort of separate the components of the fire out, the firewood out a little bit so it would die down because it got very hot, hotter than any of us want. The chimney was glowing and crackling, not good. Anyway, so yeah, I'm fine. The fireplace is fine. The fire has gone out because it's done its little thing, and PJ is currently making me a coffee. Yay. So, he's saying, don't worry, everyone, it's not the first time we've had that happen. He's talking about the chimney glowing. Yeah. No chimney fire, please. Thank you very much. So, before I get on to the important tech information, we're going to run a tip video, and then we shall have the important tech information. If you haven't been here before, and you may not have been here before because you have suddenly discovered that somebody is reading Nancy Drew. Oh, what's going to happen next? Yeah, I'll be reading that soon. But for your information and for the pleasure of everybody else, we are going to watch somebody telling us about ways to make the most of your time here. So sit back, relax, maybe take some notes. Here we go. Sorry, I forgot that. I thought I'd clicked it, but I missed it. Thank you very much, Void, for doing the tips video. And when Void's video runs, we have up in the top left-hand corner the credits for the composer of that music, which is very, very calm and relaxing. It's lovely. Yes, Grandma Jev is often muted because she forgets to unmute or clicks in the wrong place on her dashboard. Right, so on to the more serious information today, because you know, those of you who are regulars know that I often have a wee bit of a chat about other bits and pieces. I'm going to drink from the shame bottle, okay, because the shame tag has been alerted for us all.
Coffee's arrived.
Thank you for the coffee, PJ.
I have Duct Tape brand coffee for mine today. I'm not going to show it because
it doesn't have its branding on.
To wrap it in duct tape. However, she gets a free
straw,
cardboard straw, because I don't use them.
And you can get bendy straws that are cardboard. I'm going to open it. I normally don't because I save them for other things. See, it's a bendy straw. Hang on, let's put it so the camera cannot see my face and it focuses. So it's a bendy straw and it's made out of cardboard and it works. Yay. So now I have to find somewhere to put it. But I will have some more of this water from my Shane bottle. So we're really big on hydration around here. It has been keeping my the kidney stones from being quite as much of a problem as they could have been. In fact, I probably would have had an issue with kidney stones earlier in my life if I hadn't been hydrating as much as I do. But there are some things where some people just have more of a tendency to it. So obviously it was my turn. My dad had them too at one stage. So yeah, I'm really glad I have girl plumbing when it comes to kidney stones. Guys, just wince and make sure you drink plenty of water, okay? Yeah, just do it. Right, so important information. So the tech information for today is, there has been a question that has come up recently. I came across it today, but it's probably been floating around for the last few days. I'm not sure, but it is very, very important if you are in a Discord server or if you have a Discord server. Well, that means you're in one, but especially if you own one, because you get to say what the settings are for it. But it's very important information for you and for anyone else who is in a Discord server. Okay, so I'm going to read the information out to you. And Goriki has got a couple of 3 links in one of the commands, which he's going to put up when we get to the right part on that, or whenever he feels like it. Should we be worried about Chaos Bot and Venom Rat or Venom Bot on Discord? And yes, definitely be worried about them. Okay. I'm not going to read all of that little bit because it was actually addressed to a particular individual. But yeah, you need to really make sure that you are keeping yourself very, very secure and safe on Discord. I'm going to read the rest of the information. Chaos Bot, there is a link for it, which starts off PICUS Security, PICUSSECURITY.com. That's the first of the links, I think. No, it's the second link that that's in the, actually you can use the command. It is FYI, no, that is not FYI bot. There it is. So the first link there is a YouTube video discussing it. Now it's too long to show here. Also, I don't have permission to show it here, but it's not a really long video. It's only about 8 minutes. Okay, so go and watch it at some stage. And then to read up about Chaos Bot, that's the second link there. I'm going to read you some information about it, but you can read more about it at that second link. Chaos Bot, the TLDR is always, as always, is to read links. That is the link as it is written in Discord, not clicking on it. Okay, don't click on it. Read the link, what it says, and understand where it is going to. If you're on a PC or a Mac or something where you're using a mouse or a pointer, an external pointer, hover over it and see where the link actually says it's pointing to, because what you see in text is not necessarily the same as the link it's going to. Don't just randomly click on links on mobile devices, because you don't have that facility to preview what a link says it is. Okay, read the link and understand where it's going to and what they do before you decide you're going to click on them. Any link. Do not accept friend requests from someone you have not already proven human in another location, such as Stream Chat or another trusted Discord. Now, I have some people that I will communicate with directly in Discord that I haven't known as long as, say, I've known Goriki. Congratulations, Goriki, for 39 months. Wow. So I have some friends on Discord that I do occasionally chat with privately that I haven't known as long as him, but I know them from other Discord servers, and I have known them in that context long enough and watched their track record, how they interact, what they talk about, how trustworthy they are in those places before I got into having private conversations with them. You need to do that. You need to vet who makes contact with you, okay? You need to guard your own online security. And it's not just about somebody accessing you and your stuff. It's also about it being passed on to others. Okay, so don't accept friend requests from someone you have not already proven human in another location, such as Stream Chat or another trusted Discord. Do not accept nor read private or direct messages from people you do not 100% know as someone that you already trust. Look at the summary. Discord will show you a summary, but don't actually open the message to read it. Okay? Hi, Shu. I'm giving a stern talking to about Discord security at the moment, because there's two things floating around that questions have been asked about, and they are ChaosBot and VenomRat. So ChaosBot is the one I've just been talking about. The links are in chat there. Please watch the video. Please read the 2 pages about the different ones. So on to VenomBot now. VenomBot, there is a link there for it in that chat. It's the third one of those links: YouTube link, ChaosBot link, and VenomBot link. Okay, the VenomBot link is there. The TLDR is if you run or own or operate a Discord channel, you must restrict membership. I'll say that again. You must restrict membership. Allowing everyone and their dog to join at will automatically opens you up to VenomBot. For example, I, in my channel now, in my server now have it set so that it's secure. I have to verify someone joining. They can apply to join, but they can't access anybody in my Discord server, nor chat anywhere in my Discord server until I have checked them out, including, if I want to, asking them additional questions. They have to answer some questions anyway before they actually can even get to that stage. But then if I choose to, I can ask for extra information. I can verify who they are myself, and then I can hit the go button and allow them to be part of my server. It's important. If you have what is a fully private server, like a family group, this function is not available to you. It's under community. You can change your server to be a community server. It does not have to be a big server. It can be the same size as a family server, but it's an extra level of security protocols are available to you. They have it now. You do not have to have a plugin for it. You do not have to have an external Discord bot to run it, unlike what they used to do. It's actually part of Discord now. So you can set it up to do that. You can go to, a lot of people don't change their server to a community server because they think that means it puts them into the directory and it's fully open and available for everyone to see. No, my one is not. Someone can try and look me up in the Discord server directory. I am not there because I have chosen to not have it shown there. You don't have to be 1,000 strong to be able to be a community server, which is another thing that people erroneously believe. So what you need to do is have a look at what the settings are to enable this and then do it. So I'm just going to have a quick look at mine and tell you what the label is for it so that you know what you're looking for. Okay? I'm not going to go into how to do it. I'm just going to have a look at mine to tell you the words to look for. Okay? So in your system, if you own a server, once you have converted it to a community server, and in that process, which is not hard to do, you can actually say this is available, it's open to be seen on the Discord directory, or not. Choose not. You don't need to have everybody trying to pile in, because that's going to aggravate the same problem. Then in the section where it says, okay, so if you go into your server settings, you've got the name of your server and then a bit of information like server protocol and all about this sort of stuff. And then you've got expression, which is extras you can use. And then you've got people. In the people section, you've got members, you've got roles, you've got invites, and then you've got access. Access is the one that you need to look at. that tab there, how can people join your server? You have 3 options. This is where you choose. Invite only, apply to join, and discoverable. Not that long ago, it used to be invite only or discoverable. Now it's invite only, apply, and discoverable. And it's apply that you need to use. And then you set up a thing where you tell them they have to read the server rules. You can write some questions, some short yes/no questions, closed questions. You can also ask some other questions that are open-ended questions where they have to write something themselves. So it's not just a random bot response, okay? And ask a question that the answer you don't want is yes. It's a wee trick. Ask a question where they can answer with a reasonable number of words or just one word. It's not a short answer, not a closed question. If your sales closed means yes, no answers. But ask a question where the appropriate answer for wanting to join your server would be no. Are you a scammer? A bot system will answer yes in a text entry box where it appears that there's a question. An art seller, when you ask, are you an artist looking to sell your work, is going to say yes, because they're trying to get business. But if you don't want art sellers populating your Discord server and using your membership list as their sales channel, they do. We had someone try that in my server back before we got tight on security, talking from experience, and it's only they were smart enough to not send me a sales message, but they did to other members of the server. And thankfully, one of the members told me that that was happening to them, and so therefore I banned that user, and also we changed the settings to invite only and a bunch of other things. And then once I found we could do this access application to join system, then yeah. So ask questions that they need to answer, and if you want to be tricky, ask them a question which the appropriate answer would be no, and usually the ones who are the dodgy ones are going to answer yes. Just a wee tip. Apply made all the difference in the world. Yeah, definitely. We've even had a known scammer or phisher who applied to the server that we're denying eventually after months of waiting in limbo. Yeah, since it's happened, as a server owner and a server moderator, you will actually see in the list of members if someone has applied. So you can then look at it, you can review it, you can leave it just sitting there and not actually approve them for a time, so it gives you time to think about it. It also means if they're fairly new online, that's alarm bells. But if you're going to give the benefit of the doubt, you can check out their other connections. In their profile card, they should have said something about who they are, profile card on Discord, who they are, and other ways you can interact with them, like on Twitch, if they are an artist, if they've got an artist portfolio. If they say on their profile they're an artist and they have no links to artist portfolios or to something like a like Linktree, which is a link aggregator site, and on there doesn't have any links to artist portfolios that have exactly the same name and profile picture, very, very sus. No, don't approve, decline them. So this one here, we are just leaving them sitting in limbo at the moment and seeing if anything happens. They haven't been in my Twitch. They have not interacted with me on Twitch, is what I mean. They have not chatted on Twitch for me to know they're a real person, just like when people come in and lurk. I love having lurkers here because it's like sitting listening to a story. Yeah, I want that, but I want to know that you're a real person before you do that. Void has done really, really well with that because Void Android has come in, they have introduced themselves, we've got into conversation about various things, and then they will lurk. And they will often use the lurk command when they are going to lurk. And I have other people who will do the same thing. But every time Void arrives, they say hello to me. and they make reference to something else that is going on. That is proving your worth as a real person. Okay, and it's really appreciated. Limbo accounts have a tendency to magically change their name or profile pic while waiting. That's a really good point. Keep an eye on, if you do have someone applies to join and you leave them in limbo for a while, see if their profile stays the same or if they change their name entirely. I have had that somewhere else. One of the biggest Discord servers that I know of did that, where I saw somebody was there, and a bit later on I saw they changed their name to something else. The name that they originally had was a fairly big, not a really big streamer, but a fairly big streamer, but they had an underscore or a number after the name, or a dot or a space in the middle when it was a double-barreled name. I've seen it more than once. And then they changed it to another big streamer name. Now, if someone's a big streamer, surely they would have got their own name on Discord. They would have gotten early enough on Discord to get the same actual name, not have to have numbers after it. Yes, you are a good bot. Bot being because Void is Void Android, and that's fine, and we love it. So there you go. Love them too. Love the fact that they are a bot. So a genuine streamer is going to have their own actual name there, or something that makes it a real thing, not just a Amanda03 or Amanda Girl 05 or something like that, because the other names have all been taken. Someone who's already been doing it for ages and has got big is going to have their own name already available to them. They would have got it early on, otherwise they wouldn't have been using Discord. They just wouldn't have bothered. Anyway, so yeah, that's your cautionary tale for today. Do not interact with any of those things. Okay? Yeah, I'm just looking at it. I've got a red 1 sitting on my link for members in my Discord server because I've still got that person sitting in limbo. They haven't changed their name, by the way, so far. They applied on the 19th of December, so they've been there for a month. No activity, no wanting more information or anything else like that, but they don't actually have really their profile picture on Discord. They've got a link to a Twitch account. Okay, actually they've got a link to 2 Twitch accounts. One is to a big streamer account and one is to a clone of the big streamer, but it's just got a number after the name. And when you look at the Discord profile picture, it's no, not the Discord for profile picture. If you look at the Twitch user channel for the one which has the number after the name, it's actually slightly off center and it's out of focus. It's pixelated. It's like they've saved it from a screen cap when it's small, rather than what the actual original streamer's profile picture looks like, which is really crisp. I know because I have looked at it. I have investigated this. These are all signs that it is a bot or a scammer or a spammer, because they will borrow someone else's credibility, okay? Yeah, zero effort. There are ways around it. I know them, but I am not going to talk about them here because this is video saved. So yeah, there's all that sort of stuff. Oh yeah, I forgot that very last bit on Venombot, which is the most important part of it. On Venombot, information about it. Yes, set it up so you have the security system in place where people have to apply to join. It's really worth it. And no, you don't have any higher exposure if you choose to be a community server than being a private server, because you get to decide what exposure you get with that, whether you're on the directory or not. So you get to make that choice. But you need to be a community server to have that application process available. Anything that Venombot post places in Discord threatens everyone in contact with that post or user. That you need to know, because there are scripts that can be run. We want to believe the best of everybody, but there are people out there creating things that are dangerous, where you click on something and it may not take you to a link, but there is a script that runs and it does something very dodgy, security wise, very dangerous. So don't. You don't want them in your server because you don't want anyone to accidentally be exposed to that. So there is the discussion on YouTube that you need to watch. Go and watch it. It's only 8 minutes long. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet because it was right in the middle of setting up to stream that all this information came through to me. Thankfully, somebody did ask Gurihi about it, so we have these bits of extra information. There are those 2 pages, one about Chaosbot and one about Venombot, or Venom Rat, I think is the alternate name for it. So definitely go and check those all out. The YouTube, Chaosbot and Venombot pages. Okay? Yes. Look after yourselves. And look after each other too. I'm just going to scroll back up through chat because there were a couple of comments that I missed, that were good comments. Void was saying that Mother had so many memory sticks, spent almost an hour transferring all the data into one. I know that feeling. I used to have a heap of them because in the old days they were very small. They didn't have a large amount of storage space on them, and then gradually they got bigger. Anytime the bigger ones were on special, I'd get them, like when they were extra cheap. Now the others are to be discarded. Some had corrupted files too. Yeah, definitely. If you have a USB stick that's just not going to open properly, or it's got corrupted files, just get rid of it. But also see if you can actually break it before you get rid of it, so somebody else doesn't pick it up in case they manage to get some information out of it. Well done. Yeah, what is the Venom Rat? A detailed explanation of the remote access, definitely. So it has access to all sorts of ways of doing things. And Gurihi has actually altered his link to Venom Rat rather than Venom Bot. I mean, the link was correct, but the name for it. So it's Venom Rat. There you go. Thank you. There's your security update for today. And also make sure you're drinking lots of water. I'm just going to get my phone out of the way because that's not where my phone goes. But this is where my book goes. And it's charged enough. I've got everything sitting in front of me. Oh, lovely. Well done, Shu. That's appreciated as well, I'm sure. I've never yet managed to catch Void when they are streaming. I feel terrible about that. I've wanted to, but often they will be streaming partly when I'm streaming and they'll be listening to me or something else like that at the same time because they've raided in a couple of times, a few times now actually. Or it's just been the timing on it's just not worked out well for me. Or if they're on when I'm finishing, usually I'm just too wiped out to be able to go and hang out in somebody else's channel, even lurking, because I'm an old generation that feels like you need to be polite and engage in conversation a bit before you lurk, and even that, it just gets too much. So back to our tips video. I have a drink today. I have an official Jev Not sponsored drink today. Yes, I do, indeed. Mango flavoured. No, not mango. Melon flavoured. Why did I say I don't know. I have water. I have the Shane bottle, but I also have a lot of water in another bottle. I have coffee. I am well supplied for today. I have coffee. A lovely warm flat white. I don't drink really hot anything. I don't like the extremes of temperature. In terms of snacks, I have a nectarine. This variety is, I don't know if it's developed in New Zealand, but it's called Honey, Hunny, like Winnie the Pooh, honey. They substituted it for me when I did my online order because I asked for a different variety. But the reason they substituted it was the other variety was not currently in stock, so they gave me these ones instead. They're okay, they're nice, they're fresh, but the other ones have a bit more flavour, which is why I was going for them. These ones just taste sweet, hence the name honey. And I've also got, just trying to figure out how to cover the branding on them, I've also got a milk arrowroot biscuit. Actually, I've got more than one. Just because sometimes it's nice to have something that's crunchy and not dribbly, not going to dribble juice all over you when you eat it. So there you go. And no, the cat is not on his chair, so save your coins at the moment, your pages at the moment. Right, I think that's it. I think we can get on with reading the last few chapters. Last few chapters of Nancy Drew, The Secret of the Old Clock. I'm just thinking, have I been writing it correctly? I'm pretty sure I have. And Star Matsushu has redeemed Ears to You. And what are we going to have? Why is it not doing in... Oh, yeah, that's because you're choosing. That's right. Ears to You. Unicorn Amalthea, please. Yes. Amalthea. Hang on. I'm just moving things. And I'm just going to make sure I've got the right one, okay? I don't want to grab the wrong one and then have Shu going all upset about it. I really want to get a purple coloured one, a proper purple one. But I haven't seen one yet. Amalthea. I'm not quite sure which way I'm meant to say it because I don't know anyone with that name. But this one is the rose coloured one. There we go. Lovely. Just wanted to throw one off by not picking top knots. Definitely threw me. Right, there we go. I have been known to wear one of my unicorn headbands when I'm reading Donkey Tales before it was published as a book. Since then, when I read it as a book, I have actually worn donkey ears. Well, technically they were rabbit's ears, but because they're erect and the colours I've chosen they look, and in the context they look like donkey ears. Right, so let's carry on. We are going to read, hang on, what chapter were we on? Oh, we were up to chapter 22, What the Notebook Revealed. Remember last time the robbers were caught. I'm trying to find where we are. 1, 2, 3, we've got 4 chapters. I'm counting. We've got 4 chapters to go, including this one. Oh yeah, timer, thank you. Very good. I feel like it's been a while since I've done any of this. Well, just 2 streams with ducks, but you know, there you go. If you haven't been here before, the egg timer is so that no, we'll just put that down there. The egg timer is going to run for 6 minutes and then it's going to make a noise and flash at us so that I don't keep on wearing this the whole stream. There you go. That's how it works. Let's get on with reading. Chapter 22, What the Notebook Revealed. I'll just put my microphone down slightly. Just a minute, Nancy Drew stammered as she darted toward the roads. Oh, that's right, the cop was going to get a ride back with her. The marshal, sorry. I don't know what the difference is. They're just policemen in New Zealand. As she darted toward the roadster, blocking the marshal's path. There's a package in the seat. I'll put it in the back. Hastily, she picked up the clock, which was covered in a blanket. Yes, I did notice. I don't know if you did. She covered the clock with the blanket after she'd looked at it. Never mind that, the marshal interposed. I can hold it. Oh, it's no trouble to put it in the catch-all at the back, Nancy assured him. Then it'll be out of your way. Before the man could offer to do it for her, she'd carried the clock to the rear of the car. Lifting the cover, she placed it on the floor. So obviously a storage compartment on the back. I don't know the catch-all. It's like a trunk or, if you're English or New Zealand, a boot. Probably, but slightly. It might actually be a trunk on the back of the car. I don't know. Because the era of the car. I should Possibly no, but then American cars are a little bit different to English and Australian, New Zealand cars back in that era. So I have a lot of experience of vintage cars, some of which are American, but not necessarily a roadster. We didn't have any of those sort of ones. During the ride back to town, Nancy Drew was anything but easy in her mind, but she gave no indication that she was nervous. It was not until she had said goodbye to the marshal at the jail that she felt entirely safe. That was a narrow escape, she laughed as she drove away. It might not have gone so well with me if the marshal had discovered stolen goods in my car. At least she's aware of it. It certainly wouldn't have been easy to explain how I came by that clock. Although it was late, Nancy was determined to return to River Heights that night. She lives in River Heights. She was anxious to examine the notebook and learn whether or not it would disclose the hiding place of Josiah Crowley's second will. Oh, I'm so eager to get home and have a chance to dig into the notebook, she thought as she drove along the road. I went through a lot to get it, and I'll be disappointed if it doesn't contain good news. It will mean so much to the Horner girls and poor old Abigail if the will is found. It was nearly 10 o'clock that night when Nancy, tired and worn from the long automobile ride, reached her home in River Heights. As a teenager, to me it was like, wow, she's up late. She's definitely pushing the boundaries here, because we used to be 9 o'clock bedtime up until I was probably about to leave home, nearer to 18. She's 16 in this. The later books, she's actually 18, but at this stage she's still 16. As she drove into the double garage, she noticed that her father's car was gone. A glance at the house disclosed that the windows were dark. I wonder where father can be, she questioned herself. I wanted to tell him about my discovery right away. She removed the Crowley clock from the back of the roadster and paused an instant to gloat over it. She was well satisfied with the result of her detective work. Locking the garage door, she went inside and switched on the electric light. The house seemed deserted, for Hannah the maid had already retired, gone to bed for the night. Father's probably working late at the office, Nancy decided. Oh well, I may as well stay up, and while I'm waiting, I'll have a look at the notebook. Now, if it was me, I'd be thinking, windows at ground level? No, I think I'll go upstairs to my bedroom where people can't just look in and see what I'm doing in case they're suspicious. I've got a very suspicious mind when it comes to that sort of thing. During the long ride from Moon Lake, she had been impatient for an opportunity to examine the Crowley notebook, and now she lost no time in finding a screwdriver. She took off the face of the clock and from the hook removed the notebook. I found a picture of a clock that's similar, not quite the same. Let's see if I can show it to you. Hang on, I need to do this. Just because it helps to understand why she's taking the front off the clock. Books, there it is. And we shall edit that and add a picture. And the only reason I didn't do it earlier was just because not enough time. I'm using this one. It's not the same one that I used for the thing that I did online. Whatever that was. I think it's that one. Let's put that up the top. No. Okay, we'll get to it. Right, let's go. Let's turn on these books there. Let's turn that on. So that this illustration is wrong because it talks about it being a square clock with a crown pattern on the top. Ooh. I'll just turn that off for you. Egg timer. We'll make that invisible. So that was the frontispiece in some of the copies of the book. Let's carry on. That was her driving into the garage. This one here. So this is a square or actually rectangular, but this is the style, and this is more like the style of what they show on the cover. Shu has redeemed area. What's all this about? Time for the Hooper resolution. And what are we going to get this time? Oh dear. We have Fluff Heart. And we do. We have Fluff Heart. Fluff Heart has come out of retirement because I found it in the Christmas box when I was looking up my Christmas bits and pieces. See, it's a heart. It's a heart shape. It was meant to be a fluffy halo, but it stuck up too far and I didn't really feel like wearing a halo, so I turned it into a heart. There you go, there's Fluff Heart. Now I need to turn the egg timer back on. Egg timer, turn that back on. So there's the clock. That's the style of clock, except that in the description it just refers to it as being a simple square mantel clock, a clock that sits on a mantelpiece above a fireplace in the main parlour or the main room in a house. But it talks about it having some crown ornamentation on the top, so that would be above the clock face. It would have a crown shape that would be fastened on there. So that's about the only difference, and I couldn't find anything that had that sort of a look to it. So there you go, we've got that one instead. And I can turn those illustrations off now and we'll carry on with reading. Hang on, glasses are still once again mucky. I need to put this on my list of things to do before I start reading, don't I? Clean glasses. Sometimes it bothers me, sometimes it doesn't. Today was obviously one of the days where it bothered me. Don't panic, it's only four chapters today, so we should be okay for timing. When you go and smear something onto your glasses instead of off, isn't that frustrating? But then half of you probably don't wear glasses, so you don't even know what the frustration is. Sometimes you see better through uncleaned glasses than cleaned glasses, because sometimes when you clean glasses, you end up with smears on them where you get a directional movement across it, tiny, tiny micro lines in an ultra thin layer of grease or skin oil, or I don't know, a fat splatter from the stove, or skin oil from a fingerprint or something like that. And when you get that smear across, it catches the light from certain angles and it makes it really big in your view. Not the look of the light, but just brightness of light, because it catches on every one of those little lines that all are alongside each other. And it's frustrating as heck. Anyway, so let's carry on with this. And now she lost no time in finding a screwdriver. She took off the face of the clock and from the hook removed the notebook. Now to find out what became of the will, she declared as she curled up on a comfortable chair near a reading lamp. I think I would have been wandering around the house and checking to see if Father had left me a note to say where he was. You know, like why he wasn't at home. Just because that would make a little bit more sense to me. It would be a bit more safe and sensible. I don't think she's quite as sensible as some of us. But then she's only 16, I suppose that's okay. I hope everything turns out all right for Allie and Grace and for Abigail Rowan. Carefully Nancy thumbed over the pages, for they were yellowed with age, and she was afraid they might tear, because paper gets brittle as it ages. Evidently Josiah Crowley had used the same notebook for many years. Why is she starting at the front? Surely if it was a more recent entry, it would be near the back. You know, come on. Page after page the girl read, perusing inconsequential memoranda and numerous notations of property owned by Josiah Crowley, as well as various business transactions made by him. I wonder if any of these extra bits of information are going to be useful towards the end of the story. Nancy was surprised at the list of stocks, bonds, and notes which apparently belonged to the estate. The amount reached well over $300,000, which in 1930 was a lot of money. I had no idea Josiah Crowley had that much money, she murmured. After a time she grew impatient of the seemingly endless list, and skipping many pages turned ahead. Suddenly the phrase "my will" caught and held her attention. Eagerly, Nancy pounced upon it and began to read. "I found it at last," she told herself in excitement. The notation was brief and written in Josiah Crowley's cramped hand. "To whom it may concern, my last will and testament will be found in the safety deposit box number 148 in the Masonville National Bank. The box is under the name Josiah Harkston." The date of this entry was recent and the ink had not faded as in the earlier entries in the notebook. "Then there was another will," Nancy exclaimed aloud. "Oh, I'm sure it must be in favour of the Horner girls too." She hurriedly read on, but although she carefully examined every page in the book, there was no other mention of the will. No wonder the will never came to light, Nancy mused. Who would have ever thought of looking for it in a safety deposit box under the name of Josiah Harkston? In his zest for safety, Josiah Crowley nearly defeated his own purpose. Her thoughts were interrupted as she heard an automobile turning in at the drive. Rushing to the window, Nancy saw her father drive into the garage. As he opened the front door, she ran to meet him. "Why, hello, Nancy," he greeted her in surprise. "If I'd known you were here, I'd have come home sooner." That's right, because he was expecting her to be off camping at Moon Lake for the whole week, and she's come home early. "I was doing some special work on a case. Back from Moon Lake early, are you?" "Yes," Nancy admitted, trying to hide her excitement, "but for a good reason." Before father could remove his hat, she plunged into the story of her adventures and ended by showing him the notebook, which she had found inside the mantel clock. When she had finished, Carson Drew stared at her with mingled pride and amusement. "You're a regular detective, Nancy." "You're making fun of me," she said. "I just want to be like those Hardy Boys." "You're making fun of me." Carson Drew's face sobered. "Oh, we've got another one." Gooding has timed for the circle of randomness, and what have we got this time? Butterflies! Butterflies is the winner! Yes, we have butterflies. I actually have something, I haven't got to making it yet, but I've planned out what I'm going to make as a display on the wall behind me for the various headbands and ears, so you can see them, and then I don't have to dig through somewhere to try and find them. Right, there you go. There's the butterflies. They're purple too. Funny that. I wonder why. Anyone who's allergic to purple better not hang around my stream, I guess. Right. Carson Drew's face sobered. "No, I'm proud of what you've done, Nancy. I couldn't have done better myself, perhaps not so well. You took a real risk when you encountered those robbers, but so long as you're back home safe and sound, it doesn't matter." So he's not going to tell her off for taking such risks. That's nice. "The Tophams aren't going to thank me when they find out what I've done." This is true. "Hardly. They may accuse you of stealing their clock, although so long as their house was open when you entered, they can't claim that you broke in. However," he's a lawyer, remember, "however, if we can manage to keep the knowledge from them, it'll be just as well that they don't learn the details of how the will was found," because they'll legally try and challenge it. Carson Drew picked up the notebook and glanced through it with interest. "The fortune will make a nice nest egg for someone," he commented, as he looked over the lists of stocks and bonds owned by Crowley. "These securities are of the best, too. All gilt edge." Is this like blue chip? I don't know. It doesn't mean anything to me. "I hope the Tophams will be cut off without a cent," Nancy declared. "It's likely they will be, but of course you never can be certain until the will is read. Unless I am mistaken, your discovery will strike the Tophams at an especially awkward time." "What do you mean?" "Well, there's a rumour going the rounds to the effect that Richard Topham has been losing heavily in the stock market this last month." Ooh, ouch.
He has been getting credit at a number of banks on the strength of the inheritance, and I suspect he is depending on Crowley's money to pull him through a tight place. At least he has made every effort to speed up the settlement of the estate. It would serve the Tophams right if they lose everything, Nancy said decisively. Well, that's what we all really want, isn't it? They never had a particle of charity for anyone. They would let their relatives starve before they'd help them. Carson Drew glanced again at the notebook in his hand. Now that you've found this, the thing to do is locate the will at once before Richard Topham gets wind of what's up, he advised. We want to administer the coup de grace before the Tophams have a chance to get the fortune into their hands. Once the estate is settled, it will not be easy to wrest it away from them. I'd like to turn the matter over to you, Nancy responded promptly. I'm not familiar with legal procedure, and you know exactly what should be done. Oh, yeah, Dad's a lawyer. I'll be glad to help if I can, Nancy. The first thing, of course, is to get our hands on the will. That should be easy. We can drive over to the Masonville National Bank the first thing in the morning. We're used to, in movies, safety deposit boxes being 2 key. The bank holds 1 key and the owner holds another. We haven't had reference to this, so it may be that back in the day they didn't. Yes, but we haven't any authority to open the safety deposit box. It may be necessary to get a court order, Carson Drew reminded his daughter. That's so. I hadn't thought of that. But you can manage it, can't you? Carson Drew chuckled. Well, I know the judge. Yes, I think I can arrange it all right. I'll tell him I'm acting as counsel for the Horner girls. I really am, because I promised I'd help them if I could. I'm sure everything's going to turn out just as I hoped, Nancy cried enthusiastically. The deserving relatives will get the money and the Tophams will be left out in the cold. Abigail Rowan will be able to have the medical attention she needs, and Allie and Grace will be fixed for life. Don't build your hopes too high, Carson Drew advised her wisely. There may be a slip, you know. We may fail to find the will in the deposit box, and of course there is a chance that Josiah Crowley didn't dispose of the fortune as it was expected he would. Didn't divide it up the way they expected him to. If I were you, I wouldn't say anything to the Horner girls until we are certain. I won't, Nancy promised as she turned toward the stairs, but I can't help hoping. I'm going to bed now and get a good night's rest. Then tomorrow we can start off on the big adventure. Oh, I can scarcely wait to find out what the will contains. Halfway up the stairs she hesitated and then returned to the living room and picked up the notebook which rested on the table. After all I've gone through to get my hands on this, I'm not going to take any chances, she laughed. Tonight I'm going to sleep with it under my pillow. End of chapter. Chapter 23. I'm going to whack my microphone and I'm going to have a drink. And I'm also going to have another drink. Time for some melon fizzy drink. Ramune. Melon Ramune. I know I've got the pronunciation completely wrong. I don't care. I just want a drink of it. Right, let's carry on. Chapter 23, Looking for the Will. When Nancy Drew awoke the following morning, the bright sunlight was streaming in at her open bedroom window. Do people not believe in curtains? As her eyes turned toward the little clock on her dresser, she was alarmed to see that it was after 9 o'clock. Well, she did get to bed a bit late, didn't she? How could I oversleep on a morning like this, she asked herself. Quickly running her hand under the pillow, she brought out the Crowley notebook. Just as well it was there. Instead of me stopping right before we had her finding it there. That would have been funny. Let's just put the cushion back on. Yes, I know, I'm banging the desk, which is wiggling the camera. That's because I moved some things around and one of them isn't sitting quite where I used to have it. And so I don't really want to scrape my shins on it. Right, carrying on. That's better. I don't feel like I'm sitting looking up over the edge of the counter. Please, sir. Excuse me. I'm over here. Down here. Little kid at a counter. Getting overlooked because the shopkeeper's looking at all the adults. Right. Quickly running her hand under the pillow, she brought out the Crowley notebook and surveyed it with satisfaction. Oh, what a surprise the Tophams are going to get, she chuckled softly. I think I spoke too fast and too loud. I need to catch my breath. Excuse me. Oh, what a surprise the Tophams are going to get, she chuckled softly. Hastily dressing, Nancy hurried downstairs. She found that her father had already left for the office. Oh dear, she thought. I wonder if he forgot. At that moment, Hannah appeared from the kitchen bearing a plate of crisp, steaming waffles. Now, I live in New Zealand and my generation grew up with cereal in a bowl with milk over it for breakfast or toast. So, yeah. It's always been a bit of a puzzler for us watching American TV and movies where people do things like they make pancakes or waffles or, I don't know, something cooked like that for breakfast. Not even fried bacon and eggs, but these other sweet cakey things. It's like, I don't know. I really don't know. It's just unfamiliar. It's always been sort of very fictional. And we keep reading about it too. Waffles for breakfast. Sounds yummy, but yeah, not what I'm used to. At that moment, Hannah appeared from the kitchen bearing a plate of crisp steaming waffles. Your father said I was to tell you to go to his office just as soon as you'd finished your breakfast, she informed Nancy. He said you were to bring your notebook. My notebook. Oh, yes, I know what he meant. It won't take long to eat breakfast, she predicted, as she seated herself at the table. Gone. After a hasty meal, she climbed into the roadster and drove to her father's office. She found him alone in the inner office. I'm sorry I overslept this morning, Nancy apologised. Have I kept you waiting? Not at all, her father assured her pleasantly. I told Hannah not to awaken you because I knew you needed rest after your hard day yesterday. And anyway, we couldn't do anything about the will without an order from the court. Did you get it? Yes, I saw the judge early this morning. After explaining everything to him, he gave me the paper. I have it here. Carson Drew tapped an inside pocket. I brought the notebook with me. You wanted it, didn't you? Yes, I thought it might be necessary to show it to the judge, but we won't need it now, because he's already got the paper. However, it may be well to put it in the safe. I'll do it now. Carson Drew took the notebook from Nancy and after placing it inside a small safe, closed and locked the door. I'm getting tinglies about people breaking into safes. When shall we start for Masonville? Nancy asked somewhat impatiently. Right now, if you're ready. After leaving a number of instructions with his private secretary, Carson Drew followed his daughter from the office. He took his place beside her in the roadster, so they're going in her car, not his. I'll never get over it if we don't find the will, she declared as they drove along. A flush of excitement had tinted her cheeks and her eyes were bright. You must remember one thing, Nancy, returned her father calmly. Crowley was an odd character and did things in an odd way. So the will may be there, and again it may not be. Perhaps he left only further directions in a box. I remember one case in Canada many years ago. An eccentric Frenchman died and he left directions to look in a trunk of old clothes. In the pocket of a coat were found further directions to look in a closet of his home. There his family found directions to look into a copper boiler. The boiler had disappeared and was finally located in a curiosity shop. Inside, on the bottom, was pasted what proved to be a word puzzle. The old Frenchman's heirs were about to give up in despair when a puzzler solved the puzzle, and the man's bag of gold was found under a board in his bedroom. Oh, but they found it anyway, breathed Nancy. The trip to Masonville was quickly accomplished, and in a short time Nancy stopped the roadster in front of the Masonville National Bank. You may as well come too, Carson Drew said as Nancy hesitated. Parking the car at the curbing, the two entered the bank. Mr. Drew offered his professional card and asked to see the president. We have managers. We don't have presidents in our banks. Sorry. After a few minutes' wait, they were ushered into a private conference room. An elderly man arose to greet them. The introductions accomplished, Mr. Drew hastened to state his mission. Before he could finish the story, the bank president cut him short. "I'm afraid you have come to the wrong place. To my knowledge, we've never had dealings with a man by the name of Josiah Crowley." "Perhaps you did not know him by that name. I believe he had a deposit box here under the name of Josiah Harkston." "Josiah Harkston?" the banker repeated thoughtfully. "Seems to me we have been trying to get in touch with a man by that name. If I remember correctly, the rent on his safety deposit box has not been paid for some time. If you will wait a moment, I will find out." The banker left the room. He returned in a few minutes with a sheet of paper in his hand. "According to our record, a Josiah Harkston rented box 148 from us, but the past year the rent has not been paid, because he's dead, mate. Here is his signature, if you care to look at it." Eagerly, Nancy and her father examined the sheet of paper which the banker handed them. At a glance, they saw that the writing was in the cramped hand of Josiah Crowley. "It may be that Crowley and Harkston were the same person, as you say," the banker continued, "but we have no authority to permit you to examine the contents of the safety deposit box." "I have an order from the court," Mr. Drew said quietly. "Oh, that's different." The banker's attitude underwent a sudden change. "May I see the document, please?" Smart man, always asked to actually check the document, and do so. Yes, the stuff of movies. "Certainly." Mr. Drew removed the paper from his pocket and handed it to the banker. After examining it for a minute, the president returned it. "You find it satisfactory?" Mr. Drew asked. "Perfectly. You are welcome to open the safety deposit box, of course, in the presence of a bank official. I suppose you have the key?" Nancy's face fell. She had never once thought of the key. "We have no key," Mr. Drew admitted. "Isn't there one in the bank which will fit the box?" He knew some small banks had this. "No, we did away with that when we got our regular vault," said the banker. "But wait a minute," he added suddenly. "I think I can help you out." He disappeared into another part of the bank and presently came back holding up a sealed envelope. "That man had 2 keys for his box, and he left one here in my possession, sealed up, as you can see. As you have a court order, I feel you are entitled to this key." And he handed the envelope to Mr. Drew. So he realized this was going to happen. Mr. What's his name? Realized that whoever ended up coming to look for his will probably wouldn't have his key. The envelope was marked with Josiah Crowley's assumed name, also the number of his box. It contained a small, flat key, nothing more. "Now we will go to the boxes," said the bank official. Nancy and her father followed the president into the main part of the bank. They were then admitted into a small room which was protected by heavily barred doors. Finally, they entered the vault, which contained the safety deposit boxes. I'm guessing that in real life it's actually a lot more boring spaces than what we imagine or what we see in movies. The president inserted a small key in a lock, then used the key given to Mr. Drew, and finally pulled out a metal box which bore the number 148. Politely, he handed the box to Mr. Drew, who quickly lifted the lid and peered inside. Unable to resist the temptation, Nancy peeped over her father's shoulder. The box was empty, save for one document in the bottom. "Oh, it must be the will," Nancy cried before Mr. Drew could examine the paper. "It is the will," her father announced after a hasty glance at the document. "A will, eh?" said the bank official with keen interest. "Yes, and I will ask you to do me a favour. Kindly place your initials on each page so you can later on identify it if necessary, and I will do the same." "Certainly, Mr. Drew. I've done that before." Mr. Drew thanked the president for the help he had given, and with Nancy left the bank. So Mr. Drew's thinking ahead to when somebody tries to challenge the legitimacy of this document. "No, it's been verified by the bank manager and the lawyer as being the same one that was pulled out of the box, because we initialed it or we signed it immediately afterwards." Mr. Drew thanked the president for the help he had given and with Nancy left the bank. Once they had gained the comparative privacy of the roadster, they grinned at each other like two mischievous youngsters. "Well, we put it over, eh, Nancy?" "We certainly did, but read the will. I'm dying to find out what it says. I can't stand the suspense another minute." The will comprised several pages, all written in Josiah Crowley's cramped style, so it would be several more pages if it was someone else's writing. Mr. Drew spread the pages out before him, and Nancy pored over them. Not only was the fine writing difficult to make out, but the legal terms were confusing. "It's going to be a terrible task to study it all out," Nancy complained. "Yes, I think we'd better take it to the office," Mr. Drew suggested. He picked up the last page of the will and studied it closely. "I see Dr. Nesbit signed as a witness. No wonder the will never came to light. If you remember, he died a few days after Crowley. Thomas Wackley, the other witness, I've never heard of." "Oh, I don't care who witnessed the will," Nancy said impatiently. "I want to find out if Allie and Grace and poor Abigail got anything. I can't make head nor tail out of it." "I see their names are mentioned," Mr. Drew told her, pointing to one of the pages. "Oh, I'm so glad. So long as they're taken care of, I suppose I can wait until we get to your office to find out the details. We can have the will copied in typewriting." "Yes, I want to go over the document carefully. It is evident that Crowley drew it up himself, and I want to make certain it is legal." "Oh, do you think there's any danger it won't be?" Nancy questioned anxiously. "I can't tell until I go over it in detail, Nancy, but from a hasty examination it appears that the Tophams aren't mentioned, and they are certain to make trouble if they can. I want to make sure there is no way for them to break the will before I notify them we have it in our possession." Fair enough. Mr. Drew folded the papers and placed them carefully in his pocket. As Nancy started the motor in preparation for the return trip to River Heights, she began to chuckle. If the will does prove to be legal, won't it be a blow for the Tophams? I'd give a lot to see how they take it. I think it would be a splendid idea to call a meeting of all the relatives and read the will aloud. "I'm afraid you have a dark motive behind that idea," Mr. Drew laughed, "but I'll try to humour you this time. What's more, I'll promise that you may be present when the coup de grace is administered to the Tophams." Sounds like Father doesn't like them either. Let's just see. Oh, yes. Okay, so we've got this next chapter, the coup de grace, and a reward. Let's find out. Chapter 14, the coup de grace. Coup de grace, but I've always heard it as coup de grace, which is why I'm saying it that way. "Oh, Father, it's nearly 2 o'clock now. The relatives should be coming in a few minutes. I'm so excited." In other words, we're skipping all the hard, boring, typing it out and checking it part of it. We're just getting on to the next part of the story, which is why I like books written for young people. Less of the fluff. Carson Drew, who stood in the living room of the Drew home, smiled indulgently at his daughter as she fluttered about arranging chairs. "I believe you're more thrilled than if you were inheriting the fortune yourself," he remarked. "I am thrilled," Nancy admitted. "I can scarcely wait until the will is read. Won't everyone be surprised, especially the Tophams?" "Do you think they'll come?" "Oh, yes, the Tophams will be here, and unless I'm mistaken, they will bring a lawyer with them." Just as soon as they learned that another will had come to light, they began to worry. "Are you certain the will can't be broken?" Nancy inquired anxiously. "Of course I can't be certain, Nancy, but I have gone over it carefully, and so far as I can tell it is technically perfect. Josiah Crowley was peculiar in some ways, but he was no one's fool. I'll promise you the Tophams will have a difficult time of it if they do try to break the will." After locating the Crowley will in a safety deposit box at the Masonville National Bank in the town of Masonville, Carson Drew and his daughter had read it carefully. Without disclosing contents to anyone, they had called a special meeting of the relatives at the Drew home. With the exception of Abigail Rowan, who was confined to her bed, all had promised to be present. Grace and Allie Horner, although not relatives, had also been invited to attend the meeting. "It's too bad Abigail Rowan can't come," said Nancy, "but we'll get the news to her fast enough." "It will probably be a great surprise all around," said her father with a little smile. "Nancy, you have done a remarkable piece of work." Oh, I can hardly wait to have it all cleared up, cried the happy girl. We may have some hard minutes with the Tophams, Nancy. Yes, I suppose so. I suppose anybody would be sorry to see a fortune slipping away. Well, we'll see what happens, returned the lawyer. The Horner girls are coming up the walk now, Nancy announced. The front path, the walk. Okay. Glancing out of the window, I'm dying to tell them the news, but I'll wait. She greeted Allie and Grace cordially and escorted them to comfortable chairs in the living room. Is it true the will has been found? Allie whispered. You and Grace have no cause to worry, Nancy assured her with a mysterious smile. No sooner had she seated the Horner sisters than the doorbell rang again. This time she admitted Edna and Matilda Turner, who were dressed in their best black silk gowns. A few minutes later, the Matthews brothers, William and Fred, arrived. I guess everyone is here now except the Tophams, Carson Drew commented. We had better wait for them a few minutes. There was no need to wait, for at that moment the doorbell jangled sharply. Nancy opened the door and the 4 members of the Topham family sailed gaily in. As Carson Drew had predicted, they were accompanied by a lawyer. Why have we been called here? Mrs. Topham demanded, addressing Mr. Drew. Have you the audacity to claim that another will has been found? I have the will here, Mrs. Topham, Carson Drew replied politely. It's preposterous, Mrs. Topham stormed. Josiah Crowley made only one will, and in that he left everything to us. It looks like a conspiracy to me, Ada added tartly as she gazed coldly upon the relatives who were seated about the room. Isabel did not speak, but tossed her head contemptuously. Richard Topham likewise did not offer a comment, but uneasily seated himself beside the lawyer who had accompanied him, who they might have trouble paying if he has to do any work. If you'll kindly be seated, Mrs. Topham, we will read the will, Mr. Drew suggested. Reluctantly, Mrs. Topham obeyed. As you have probably learned by this time, Mr. Drew began, a second will of the late Josiah Crowley has been found in a safety deposit box in a Masonville bank. The will is unusually long, and with your permission I will read only the portions which have to do with the disposal of the property. Mr. Drew picked up several sheets of typewriting from the table. I don't know what that means he's avoiding. And after a moment's hesitation began to read in a clear voice. I, Josiah Crowley, do make this my last will and testament, hereby revoking all former wills by me at any time made. I give and bequeath all my property, real and personal, as follows. To my beloved friends and neighbours, Allie and Grace Horner, the sum of $75,000 each. Oh, I can't believe it, Allie gasped. Neither can I, Mrs. Topham snapped. $150,000 when they aren't even relatives. Why, that is nearly half of the estate. The will is a fraud. There is no mistake, Mr. Drew told her quietly. Again he picked up the will and began to read. To Abigail Rowan, in consideration of her kindness to me, the sum of $75,000. Oh, I'm so glad, Grace murmured. Now she'll be able to get the medical attention she needs, Allie added. I wish she could have been here, Nancy said quietly, but I'll see to it that she's notified before the day is over. That old lady gets $75,000? Ada Topham demanded harshly. What did she ever do for Crowley? Angrily she turned to her mother. We kept him for years, and this is the pay we get. To my nephews, Fred and William Matthews, the sum of $20,000 each, Mr. Drew read. We didn't expect that much, the Matthews brothers declared in genuine surprise. To my cousins, Edna and Matilda Turner, the sum of $20,000 each. Oh, how generous, Edna murmured. Aren't we mentioned at all? Mrs. Topham broke in sharply. Mr. Drew smiled. Yes, you are mentioned, but perhaps not in the way you anticipate. I'm coming to that now. To Grace and Allie Horner, my household furniture now in the possession of Mrs. Richard Topham. There was a gasp of surprise from everyone in the room, and Mrs. Topham half arose from her chair. It was generally known about River Heights that the Tophams had practically confiscated Josiah Crowley's furniture at the time they induced him to make his home with them. "How insulting!" Mrs. Topham cried. "Does Josiah Crowley dare hint that I took his furniture?" "I'm sure I don't know what was in his mind at the time he wrote the will," Carson Drew told her with a smile. "Oh, we have enough without the furniture," Grace interposed quickly. "Haven't we, Allie?" Allie nodded. "We'll not take the household goods from you, Mrs. Topham." She probably doesn't want it now because charity. Carson Drew carefully folded the document he'd been reading, and after placing it in a drawer, turned to the relatives. "That is all there is, except that there is a proviso to pay all his just debts, including his funeral expenses, and that what little balance is left, maybe $3,000 or $4,000, goes to the Manningham Old Men's Home. Fortunately, Josiah Crowley kept his assets in a liquid state. It will not be difficult to convert the estate into cash. For that reason, I should think it would be possible to draw on your inheritances at once." "We're actually cut off without a cent?" Richard Topham asked in disbelief. His face was unusually white. "I'm afraid you are," Mr. Drew replied. "But it can't be," Mr. Topham returned. "You don't understand. I must have the money." "I can't help you. I did not make the will." "It's a conspiracy," Ada cried bitterly. She wheeled upon Nancy, her face convulsed with anger. "You had something to do with this, Nancy Drew," she said bitterly. "Perhaps I had," Nancy admitted pleasantly. "We'll break the will," Mrs. Topham announced firmly. "Of course, you may drag the matter into court if you like," Mr. Drew responded, "but I warn you it will only be a waste of your time and money. If you don't wish to accept my judgment, ask your own lawyer." "Mr. Drew is right," the lawyer said promptly, without waiting for Mrs. Topham to question him. "Oh, he is he?" Mrs. Topham retorted. "If that's all you know about law, you're discharged. We'll get another lawyer and we'll fight to the last ditch." With that, she arose and stalked grandly from the room. Isabel and Ada followed, after bestowing a withering glance upon Nancy. Mr. Topham brought up the rear. As soon as the door had closed behind him, their lawyer arose and picked up his briefcase. "Well, I can't say I'm sorry to lose that case," he remarked to Mr. Drew, as he, too, took his leave. He's happy to not be dealing with them. At once the atmosphere became less strained. Everyone began to talk at once. "Oh, Nancy, I can hardly believe it yet," Allie declared happily. Now, the girls, even though they were not related, the girls and Mrs. Rowan got the lion's share of the inheritance, because they were the ones who had actually made friends with him and looked after him and lived next door to him and made sure he was okay. Lots. The other relatives, they all got something, but they were not as impoverished, and they probably hadn't been as socially involved with him as the girls were, I think. A part of it is the fact that the other relatives actually have stuff of their own. They have farms, etc. They have their own homes. They're not desperately poor. And so Mr. Crowley has obviously decided that the greatest need is here, and this is where I'm going to put it. And I just think I heard the doorbell ring. So I'll be back in a moment. Excuse me.
Right. Two long flights of stairs, the equivalent of 3. We're going to have a big power cut next week. It's a scheduled one because they're working on the power pole outside our house. So, yeah, all day. So, next Friday, Thursday for you guys, I probably won't be streaming because I won't have any power in the house all day unless I go along to the library and use their internet and power. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Right, where did I get to? So yeah, normally our power cuts are emergency power cuts. You know, we get something hits a line and it breaks the power, or a storm disrupts a transformer like a lightning strike or something like that. But this time it's actually a scheduled one because that particular pole needs some work on it, which is good because that transformer that's on it has been there for a long time. Thank you, Shu, for whatever it is we're going to get from the extractor of dither. Butterflies. Again, we just had butterflies. Would you like to choose something else? It's your call. What would you like to choose? I'd get you to spin it again, except that there's a cooldown. I can show you what else we've got at the moment. Top knots. Of course. I should have just guessed that. It's either top knots or lavender bow, but top knots is definitely the more fun of the two. There you go. And then we will get this chapter finished, which has only got 3 pages and 1 more chapter. Here we go. What are you so shocked about there, Goriki? That she would choose top knots of all things? Oh, goodness. At once the atmosphere became less strained. Everyone began to talk at once. Oh, Nancy, I can hardly believe it yet, Ali declared happily. The money means so much to Grace and me, and we owe it all to you, Nancy Drew. Do you go round calling people by their whole name? Hi, Goriki Smith. How are you doing? It's good to see you again, Goriki Smith. Really? When you're talking face to face with somebody, I don't even use their first name when I'm talking to them because they know I'm talking to them. If I use someone's name to someone when I'm talking to them, they know they're in trouble and they have to pay attention. That's all it means. Hey, no doxing. Sorry. I thought that was safer than any other possibilities. Right. Oh, did you not want people to know that your surname is Smith? I'm sorry. Erase that from your brains, everybody. Yeah, right. Just hang on. Look at the light here. Just watch this light here. Are you watching? Right, we're sorted. Yeah, if you work with 2 mics, you need to say both names or just the last one. Yeah, that's true. If you're trying to get their attention by using a name. But when you're actually in conversation with somebody and you're talking to them, to their face, you don't usually use their name. Well, my dad does, but not all the time. Not like they're doing these. Anyway, let's carry on. And we owe it all to you, Nancy Drew. You haven't told us how you came to find the will, but I know you were responsible. As the Horner girls and Mr. Crowley's relatives begged her for the details, Nancy Drew told of her adventures with the robbers at Moon Lake. When she had finished the story, they praised her highly for what she had done. We'll never be able to thank you enough, Grace said quietly, but after the estate has been settled, we'll try to show our appreciation. It was on the tip of Nancy's tongue to say that she did not want a reward when Mr. Drew turned the conversation into a different channel. The Tophams will not give up the money without a fight, he said. My advice would be to ask the court to appoint an administrator at once. We all want you, I'm sure, Grace Horner declared quickly. She regarded the others questioningly. Everyone nodded assent. And of course we want you to act as our lawyer, Grace added. I'll be glad to assist you, Mr. Drew promised. If the Tophams bring the matter into court, I'll give them a battle they'll never forget. Goriki says, I love meeting people with two first names. For example, most superheroes have secret identities with two first names. I tell them I never trust anyone with two first names. I'll give them a battle they'll never forget. After thanking Mr. Drew and Nancy for what they'd done, the relatives at last took their departure. Allie and Grace were the last to leave. As they turned to say goodbye to Nancy, Carson Drew opened a closet and took out the Crowley clock. I guess this belongs to you now, he remarked, handing the clock to Allie. It was included in Crowley's household goods. I don't know what we'll do with it. Allie laughed. Presently the Horner girls departed with the clock. On the porch they paused to whisper significantly to Nancy, You'll hear from us again. After everyone had left the house, Mr. Drew turned to his daughter with a smile. Well, we administered the coup de grace to the Tophams all right. Yes, wasn't it funny to watch their faces when they learned they were cut off without a cent? They took it hard. It's my opinion the Tophams won't be able to hold their heads so high after this. Richard Topham looked rather sick when he left. I suspect he's desperately in need of ready cash. The Tophams deserved to be cut off without a cent, Nancy Drew declared. I'm so glad everything came out right and that Allie and Grace received the bulk of the fortune. Yes, they are charming girls. Unless I am mistaken, they intend to reward you for what you did, Nancy. Wouldn't surprise me. But of course I'll not take money from them. However, if they should offer me a reward, I know what I shall ask for. 3 dozen eggs? Eggs for life? A chicken. Oh, what's that? Oh, you must wait and see, said Nancy, laughing mysteriously. They haven't offered me anything yet. Before Carson Drew could quiz her, she skipped out the side door and vanished. And that's the end of the chapter. One more chapter! Goriki says, which I actually read in a comic book. It was a character talking to Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent. I love the scene, so I copy it. Yes, it's excellent. Yeah, Bruce Wayne. Bruce and Wayne are both first names. So is Clark and so is Kent. Very good. Well done. Wonder Woman. Does it only apply to male superheroes? But yeah, it is. That's a very valid point, though. I do appreciate that. Chapter 25, A Reward. And this is the last chapter of the book. I suppose you've heard about... Oh, I haven't got the timer on. Egg timer. Let's put it on anyway. Wonder Woman isn't her name, though. It's Diana Prince. Yes, I know. Hi, Prince. Purple rain, purple rain. Not somebody I would have wanted to be anywhere near. Made good music. Creepy AF. And the lyrics weren't always that great either. Yeah, that's as family unfriendly as I'm getting about that here. I suppose you've heard about the Tophams, Carson Drew remarked to his daughter one morning, some months after the reading of the Crowley Will. Why, no. What about them? They're practically in bankruptcy. Richard Topham has been losing steadily on the stock market of late because he thinks that the stock market is going to pull him out, so he puts more money into it, and he invests poorly because he's after a quick return, and those are the risky ones, and so therefore he's going worse, not better. Charles Xavier, for example. Yeah, because Xavier is actually a first name for a lot of in a lot of contexts. That's right. His failure to recover the Crowley... They're practically in bankruptcy. Richard Topham has been losing steadily on the stock market of late. After his failure to recover the Crowley fortune, the bank's reduced his credit. He's been forced to give up his home on the avenue. No, really? How that must have hurt Mrs. Topham and the two girls.
Those are the ones I have the least sympathy for, as do all of us. Yes, it's undoubtedly a bitter pill to swallow. They're moving into a small house this week, and from now on they'll not be able to carry themselves so high. I hope they don't try to make any more trouble about the will, Nancy commented. Goodness knows they've made enough already. The Tophams had not given up the Crowley estate without a bitter battle. They had put forth the claim that the will Nancy had unearthed was a forged document, but they had been unable to prove their statement. The case had finally been thrown out of court, and they would have still had to pay the lawyer. As administrator of the estate, Carson Drew had advanced the Horner girls and Abigail Rowan a portion of their inheritance. Several weeks before, Nancy had visited Abigail and was delighted to find her in surprisingly good health. She had secured medical attention, and a trained nurse was in constant attendance. I believe I'll run out into the country today and visit the Horner girls, Nancy told her father. They telephoned yesterday and asked me to come. They hinted they had something special to tell me. Perhaps they're going to reward you for finding the will, said Mr. Drew. Oh, it's been nearly a month since they said anything about it, Nancy returned carelessly. By this time they've probably forgotten all about it. After luncheon they set off for the farmhouse. She set off for the farmhouse in her blue roadster. It was a beautiful autumn, and Nancy Drew thoroughly enjoyed the ride. I think a lot of it, the double-barrel using both first name and surname in this particular book, is just to get us so imprinted with the name of the main character that we look for Nancy Drew books. That's the main reason I think they do it. As she came within sight of the farmhouse, Nancy was astonished at the transformation which had taken place. The house had been given a fresh coat of white paint, and a bright green roof replaced the old one. The yard was well kept, and beds of hardy plants had been set out. In the barnyard, many new hen houses were going up. Perhaps the most surprising thing was the large number of chickens in evidence. Excuse me. Welcome to the chicken farm, Allie Horner cried enthusiastically as she ran from the house to greet Nancy. I never saw so many chickens in all my life, Nancy declared. All leghorns, too, Allie told her proudly. By this time, Grace Horner had reached the roadster, and she, too, gave Nancy a hearty welcome. Allie is in her element these days, she laughed. She's putting in incubators, and from now on will raise nothing but high-grade fowls. Mary Lou, Peggy Sue, Nancy Drew, Gariki too. Yeah, that's it. You got it. You must see everything, Allie insisted. Nancy was piloted from one place to another. She saw the new chicken houses which were being built and the incubators, but the thing which pleased her the most was the realization that Allie and Grace were happy in their work. Well, I must be getting back to River Heights, she remarked after a time. Oh, you can't go yet, Allie interposed with a quick glance at her sister. You tell her, Grace. We asked you here today for a special reason, Grace began, a trifle awkwardly. You see, we've been thinking for a long time that we've never done a thing to show our appreciation for what you did. We've talked with the others, and everyone has agreed that we should reward... Oh, I don't want a reward, Nancy broke in. I wanted to help, and anyway, it was fun for me. But we wanted to do something really handsome, Allie cried in disappointment. Doesn't seem fair not to give you a reward. There's one way you can reward me if you really want to, Nancy said after a little hesitation. How? Allie and Grace demanded in one breath. Well, it may sound silly, but I would like to have the Crowley clock for my very own. And is that all you want? Grace questioned in disappointment. We'd be glad to give you 100 clocks if you'll only take them. Just the old Crowley clock. That's all I care for. And if you particularly want it yourself, oh, goodness, no. I'll just turn this off. Hang on a minute. Right. I don't know if you can hear it, but it's really raining over here. It's getting a little bit too noisy for me. And we've got more of it coming. Oh, goodness, no, Grace assured her quickly. It doesn't keep particularly good time, and we have more heirlooms now than we know what to do with. Oh, because the Tophams moved out of the other house, the girls probably got that Josiah Crowley's furniture after all, I guess. Wait a minute and I'll get it for you. That's awesome though. It's so cold here. Yeah, it would be cold where you guys are. I don't know how you can cope with that. Honestly, I couldn't. I just couldn't. I would never even consider moving down to the South Island, lower South Island in New Zealand, just because I don't handle cold. It hurts me too much. I'm constantly in a state of tension and underlying pain when it's cold. The only reason I coped at all when we lived in England is because we lived in a little farmhouse that was twin skin brick, and it had a wood stove, and we kept it going warm the whole time. The neighbour came across and had dinner with us one night, and it was 28 to 32 degrees in our kitchen dining area, and we kept it like that all the way through winter. Yeah. Anyway. Relatable. My hands hurt when it's cold. Yeah, definitely. Although generally buildings are built for it better than where I live, the part of New Zealand I live in, because we don't get that level of cold. Anyway, if you goodness no, it doesn't keep particularly good time, and we have more heirlooms now than we know what to do with. Wait a minute, I'll go and get it for you. Just because you're not living somewhere cold at the moment, thank you, Goriki. She disappeared inside the farmhouse, returning in a few minutes with the old-fashioned timepiece. She handed it to Nancy. You're more than welcome to it, she declared warmly, but it isn't a reward at all. It's the only reward I want, Nancy replied, smiling at the two Horner girls. I don't see what you want with the thing, Ali commented. It's not much to look at. What about she lets the girls talk and say what they were thinking of for a reward? It's not much to look at, Ali commented. Nancy did not reply at once, but gazed meditatively at the clock. Truly, it was not handsome, but for her it had a peculiar appeal. She could not explain to Ali and Grace just why she prized it, for her feeling was something she could not put into words. Certainly she was attached to it because of its suggestion of her recent adventure. I wonder if I'll ever have another half so thrilling. Half? I wonder if I'll ever have another half. Ever have another half so thrilling. Okay, that makes a bit more sense. When you read the words and they don't make sense, and then you read the words and they make sense, and they're exactly the same words because of the emphasis within the sentence. I wonder if I'll ever have another half so thrilling, as opposed to I wonder if I'll ever have another half so thrilling. Words are definitely having a hard time with them today, Nancy thought. As she stood gazing wistfully at the old clock, she could not know that before many months had passed she would be involved in a mystery far more baffling than the one she had just solved. Her adventures, recounted in the next volume of this series, The Hidden Staircase, were before her. Nancy Drew did not have the power of projecting herself into the future, and yet she looked down at the timepiece. She seemed to know that exciting days were soon to come. I'll always prize this clock as a trophy of my first venture as a detective, she said quietly, turning to Ali and Grace. It will serve as a pleasant reminder of a thrilling adventure, and who knows, perhaps as a promise for the future. I still think she should have got Grace to make her a dress, because that was what she was originally going to do, and Grace is a good dressmaker. Anyway, so there you go. The end. Perhaps a promise for the future. The end. So we won't be having the next Nancy Drew straight after this, because I don't do that anymore. I did that in the early days, and they got boring. Even though we'd enjoyed a story very much and wanted more, it wasn't quite as much fun when it was too soon straight after the previous one by the same author, because it's a bit same. It's like, yeah, you might enjoy a particular cereal for breakfast, but if you're having it for every meal and morning and afternoon tea as well, it's a little bit after a while. Shu had said, relatable, my hands hurt when it's cold, and Goriki had said, what an old fart thing to say. It's going to rain tomorrow. I can feel it in my knee. I haven't had any of that. I do have some aches in here, but that's probably from too much of the mouse. Which is why I really should save up and get myself something that's more ergonomic. I looked at the Logitech Lift, I think it's called. There are 2 vertical mice that Logitech does. When I say vertical, you hold them this way. You hold the mouse this way and you press the keys this way. The Lift is the bigger one. I can't remember what the other one's called. The other one is like, it's cute colours and more plasticky. The Lift is more office looking. It's got a metal strip along the top. It looks like it would work really well, but the problem is because I game as well as do office work, I want something where I can spam click, because I do. I'm not a gamer, not properly, but I do spam click for some things, and if you're doing it sideways, it doesn't work as well. If you're doing it vertically, where your hand is pressing downwards, spam clicking is a lot easier. So that's why one where the mouse is on an angle is actually going to be easier. And it's also, you're not going to be going like this and moving the mouse sideways because of the click as much if it's this angle here. So the one that I've seen that actually looks like it's going to work the best, and it's got some lovely features to it, is the Logitech MX Master 3S. Now the 3S is a later version of the 3, and it's quieter. One of the things I really like about the Logitech MX Master 3 series is that it's got a metal scroll wheel. It's got a metal scroll wheel, and you can let it free run. So you can flick it, and it will, if you've got a really, this is why it's done for work, for office jobs. If you have it set to free run, then you can flick it, and because it's this metal with this extra weight, it will keep running for a lot longer, and you can actually scroll through a lot of pages at once instead of having to pull the wheel every time you want to scroll a little bit more. Fidget spinner mouse wheel, yeah, kind of that too. But it's also got a decent number of buttons on it. It's not a silly number of buttons. They're not silly for gamers, but I'm not that sort of mouse user. But a lot of the cute ones that look like cats and mice, as opposed to a standard utilitarian mouse, usually don't have the forward and back buttons, which this one does, which I love. I use those all the time. And they usually also don't have this extra button here, which for me is set for changing the mouse speed across the screen. So if I press it, it'll make it, I have 4 speed sets. They are the standard ones it came with. I usually work it on speed set 3, which is nearly the fastest. You can get it so it works on 1, which is super slow. You've got to move the mouse a long way to get it, the cursor to move a little bit across the screen, which is probably very good for doing some sort of art stuff, but I keep forgetting it's got that. But I like being able to actually change that. I don't use it a lot, but it is handy. And the MX Master actually has some of those extras. It's got some other buttons as well. But they've come out with a 4, which is apparently even quieter. Oh, that's the other thing, is the MX Master tends to be a quiet mouse. I like the feel of clicks, but I don't like the sound of clicks. It starts to irritate me. And the MX Master has, because the mouse is at an angle like this, it's got a swept out side here, and your thumb sits in it. It just rests in it. On the MX Master 4, that section there is actually a haptic feedback pad as well as a button, which means that when you do something, you can get a buzz through your thumb that's sitting on there, and it's like, yes! And it's just like, yeah, I think that's really cool. But it's about $200 worth of mouse, and I can't really afford that at the moment. This is still lovely. I like it. It's the Logitech G Pro gaming mouse. It was the first one of this series that they did. They've got numbers since then, but at this stage it was just called a Logitech G Pro. And I remember we're seeing the news about it when just before it came out in New Zealand. and it's a USB corded mouse, which means it's slightly faster than most of the other ones at the time that were wireless mice. And the cord is one that is a slippery cord rather than a braided cord. So if you move the mouse away from you, it slides out of the cord slides out of the way really quickly. Let's just see what you guys are saying. It's actually the lisp, but they wrote it like lift so that everyone sounds the same. I like that idea though, fidget spinner mouse wheel. I'll probably end up doing that if I ever get one. My scroll wheel's driving me bonkers. I try to scroll down and it goes up and then jumps down and back up. Oh no! Oh, that's so frustrating. If you got an old enough mouse, then take it apart and clean the gunk out, because it's usually got bits and pieces down. Bits and pieces have gone down next to the scroll wheel and it's interfering with the sensor for it. But if you can't, no, don't. And if it's a cheap mouse, you can get a replacement. I scroll down, then I scroll up again, and you're never going to scroll me down. Never going to give you up. Anyway, so yeah, that's it for today. So I will be reading or gaming, I guess, on Friday, 2 days from now. Next week we'll be carry on with whatever it is that I'm doing, that I probably start doing next stream. I get knocked down. Oh, okay, yeah, of course. Brain not keeping up enough. But Friday next week. So that's not next stream, but a week from my next stream. I probably will not have that, and I won't have ducks or anything else either, because we won't have power here all day. It was really good because it's a scheduled thing and it's for servicing the pole and probably the transformer that's on it. They actually came to see us, the various ones who are going to be affected by it directly. So it's probably because it's that pole and our power line comes directly off it towards the different houses over here. May you see my mouse again, please? Yes, you may. What more? Which parts of it do you want to see? Yes, it's got LEDs that change colour. I'll see if I can get it so you can read the bottom. It's probably not going to focus for you. Oh, it is. There you go. Logitech G Pro Gaming Mouse is what it used to be called. It's probably got some other name for it now, but it's this shape. Oh, and that's the other thing why I was interested in the lift rather than the smaller one. I was looking for a new one, but the one I first saw had a rumble pad in it. Oh, okay. Yeah, you don't necessarily want that. They've upgraded this style, and there are wireless ones. The Logitech G range with their own dongle system. They've got a dongle system that they've got a wireless system that isn't Bluetooth, and I can't remember what it's called. Apparently does work very well and is quite fast. But up until now, I haven't bothered with that, just because most things that are plugged in work faster than most things that have been wireless at the budget level that I live and work at. But we're now getting to the stage where it's a lot better than it used to be. So possibly at some stage I'll upgrade. But this is working well and I love it. PJ got me my keyboard. PJ got me my mouse. Different presents. PJ got me my microphone. PJ has subsidized my streaming career. There you go.
Over the years.
Yes, over the years. Not all at once. The camera that I use is a Logitech StreamCam, and that was one that he won on from a friend's stream, because the friend used to be a Logitech partner, and he won it, and he wasn't streaming in a way that needed a camera, and so he gifted it to me. And in fact, he told the streamer that he had won it from that's what he was going to do, and the streamer was delighted as well. Oh, he's a sweetie. He's a real honey. So I do have an ergonomic mouse that has that slope to it, but it's too slow. and the button press on this is a lot faster and has a lot less resistance. Like, I mean, I can feel the click, but the cheaper one that I've got, you have to push harder, which means it's no good for gaming, because if you're trying to spam click, you're going like this with the thing to make it push the button. It feels like it anyway. And it's just so frustrating. And the joint issues that I do have from time to time are actually just from doing stuff like playing on the computer too much. One of the reasons I think it would be good to go for something more ergonomic is because I'm using my mouse all the time. I've got my hand around it like this to move it, as well as clicking. And so because of that, I've got this slight tension through this joint all the time. Whereas if I have one of the ones that's got the slope, and then my thumb is just sitting there in that cradle space, it's actually the weight of my hand on it that will be moving it, and the fact that the mouse sits between my thumb and my first finger. And so I'm not going to have to grip it the same way. You don't realize that you are, but you end up doing it anyway. So yeah, all that sort of stuff. Coming soon, Mouseonomics stream. Ergonomics of mice, yeah. Various things. So don't forget, if you have a Discord server, change it over to a community server and set up the apply to join for yours and your whole community's safety. Please do that. Make sure you do that. Go and watch that YouTube video and read those 2 pages. No, I don't have that in the right place. The YouTube video, which is only 8 minutes long, or just over 8 minutes, it's worth watching. I am going to be watching it after this. Chaos Bot you need to find out about, and Venom Rat you need to find out about, okay? They are quite dangerous, seriously, and they are spreading through Discord. That's why you mustn't click on anyone's links in Discord unless you absolutely know that it's someone you know and trust that it's from, but also that they are talking to you in their normal manner, because it is possible for someone's account to get hijacked because they have clicked on something, and then you will have someone trying to put you under pressure to click on a link to help them out with something, and you need to take a step back. 5 minutes is not going to cause major catastrophe, waiting 5 minutes, and get in conversation with them about whatever it is that they're recommending that you do, and listen to the way they are talking about it. If necessary, get into a voice chat with them if you already know their voice, so you know it's actually that person who's saying, look, yeah, this is definitely a legit thing, or it's not a legit thing. So you need to make sure it's actually the person you think it is that you're talking to. If someone is saying, please click on this link and do something about it, but you also need to look at what the link is showing you it actually is, not by clicking on it, but by hovering over it with your mouse cursor and seeing what it tells you in the pop-up that link actually is. Okay? Don't click on links unless you know without a doubt that it's a safe link. And don't accept friend requests from people you don't know, that you haven't talked with in other servers, in other public spaces, enough to know that they are a trustworthy, safe person to talk to. And that applies on other platforms too, not just on Discord or Twitch. It also applies in other services, social media especially. Watch how people behave in public. See if their behavior is stuff that you want to hang around. There's a Bible verse which is an excellent summary. By their fruits you will know them. In other words, from the way you see them constantly behaving, you'll be able to decide for yourself if this is actually someone you want to be interacting with in any way or not. You've got to look after your safety online, whether it's in Discord or elsewhere. And we just get in the habit of thinking that Discord's a safe space. But unfortunately, there are bad players who've decided, no, this is now where we're going to harvest our noobs from. This is where we're going to harvest all our money and get some accounts that we can use for other things, because they're already banning our current accounts, but we can now transition into pretending to be somebody else and use their account and hijack it for whatever purposes we want. So yeah, there are people who do that, and there are people who do that for fun. There are people who do that for money. So don't. Okay, go and check out the links. These links here. There you go. There's your Stern talking to. So I'm going to finish off here. Stay hydrated, please. I don't care how warm or cold it is. If it's cold where you are at the moment and you don't like drinking cold water, then drink warm water. Boil the kettle or heat up the pot of water on the stove, or however it is that you choose to do it. And take the chill off it so it's pleasant, more pleasant to drink, and your body isn't fighting it. If you live somewhere that's really, really hot, don't try to drink something that's ice cold, because you will actually make yourself hotter. And the reason that happens is because if you put something too cold inside yourself, the core of your body tries to stabilize at a certain temperature, so it will try to warm that up. You've just chilled everything down inside, and initially it feels wonderful, but now your body's going to work extra hard to get that inner core temperature back to a stable temperature that's safe for you, and you'll end up feeling hotter because it's warming you up. So a little bit cold is better than a lot cold if you are in a hot temperature. Look after yourself. Stay hydrated. Eat well if you can. Otherwise, just make sure you're eating something instead of starving yourself. And have fun, but be careful. And we'll see you all next time. Happy